Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Haley. Today's video is going to be another book recommendation video, and this time it's going to be books that are very emotional, books that made me cry. I'm going to be honest with you, I cry very easily in books, so it's not saying that much, but these are the ones that I absolutely bawled in, not just like a few tears. I full on sobbed while I was reading these. So without further ado, let's just hop into the video. So the first book that I want to recommend is Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. I full on sobbed and kept sobbing for the last like 200 pages of this book. It is a very long book, just know that before going into it, and it did take me like probably 50% of the way through the book to get into. But once you get into this book, it is so good. The ending is just so emotional and heartbreaking, and I could not put it down. I stayed up so late reading this, and I don't stay up late reading books, and I could not put this down. I was just lying in the dark reading this on my Kindle, crying the whole time. It was so good, the ending. I did not see it coming at all, but yeah, just a warning that I think it is hard to get into this book, but once you get into it, you'll love it, I'm sure. I think this book is actually best to go into it completely blind, so I'm not going to give you really too much of a description on this book, except for basically it follows a friend group, but it's mostly focused on our female main character and just her experience going from high school to university, or college, sorry. My Canadian is showing. So from high school to university, or high school to college, and just like the things, and just like her life and love life and stuff like that. So that's all I'm gonna say about this book. But if you for some reason read this and did not cry at the end, let me know in the comments down below, because I don't know how you did that. So yeah, I full on cried for this. The ending is very good. The next book I want to recommend is On Dublin Street by Samantha Young. This is the first book in the On Dublin Street series, and it is so good. I love this book. I'm actually reading the second one right now, and so far I'm really liking it. I don't know if it'll top this one because I absolutely love this book, but I've heard that the series just gets better and better and even more emotional and angsty. So this one follows Joss, who is hiding a big chunk of her past. She's sort of running away from it. She grew up in the States but is now in Scotland. And while she's looking for an apartment in Scotland, she actually has a meet cute with the male main character Brayden, when they both try to go for the same cab and they end up just splitting it because they're going in the same direction. And so in that whole time they're like bantering and flirting. It's super cute. But Joss, because of what happened to her in her younger years, is very reserved. She doesn't really let people in easily, but this book is sort of a found family as well, has found family elements as well as the romance with her roommate, who is actually Brayden's sister. There's a lot, I don't want to say what makes this book emotional because I don't want to spoil it, but I didn't see it coming. I was crying. Again, the last like 20% of this book just was crying the whole time. But I love this one. This one is full of angst as well as the emotion. So if you like that, you will love this book. The next book I have to recommend is Twice in a Blue Moon by Christina Lauren. I feel like I've actually been talking about this book quite a bit lately because it was part of my 5-star reads for this year, but I think it deserves to be included in this video, especially because I think it's one of Christina Lauren's more underrated books, and I think it deserves a lot more hype than it gets. So let me tell you about it. This follows Tate and Sam, who met on a trip abroad after high school they each are on a separate trip with their grandparents, and they meet at a hotel, being the only Americans in the area, and so they decide to have breakfast together and get to know each other. And Tate and Sam are really like young, flirting, they're like young in love, But Tate actually has had this secret that she's kept with her whole life. And it's that she is the daughter of a really famous movie star. So she has been told her entire life that she's never allowed to tell this secret, but she decides that she loves Sam and she's going to tell Sam, so she tells him. There's this big betrayal, and then years later they end up working together on this movie. He is the writer of this screenplay, and this is her big break as a movie star. So they are forced to sort of work together because this is his like really important screenplay and he doesn't want to give up the opportunity, and it's her big break to become a movie star, so she can't give up the opportunity. And so they're forced to work together, and it's just, they're absolute soulmates. I will say, I think that the emotional part of this book actually comes at the beginning with the betrayal and everything like that. So I wanted to include that too because I feel like the rest of these books, this sort of emotional part is more at the end, and definitely still is emotional at the end, but I was crying a lot at the beginning of this book. So I definitely recommend this book. If you've never heard of it, pick it up. Christina Lauren can do no wrong in my books, but this is one of their underrated, one of my favorite books of theirs that is also super underrated in my opinion. The next book I have to recommend is The Simple Wilds by Kay Tucker. This is one of my all-time favorite romance books that I've ever read, and it is very, very emotional, especially at the end. I don't think I've ever included this in a recommendation video, and I cannot believe it because I love this book. So it follows Calla, who is she's very much of a city girl. She grew up in downtown Toronto, and she's been estranged from her dad for years when her mom moved away because he's an Alaskan bush pilot. But Calla's life is sort of is having a downward spiral. She loses her job, and then she gets a call from one of her dad's colleagues who lets her know that he is really sick and that she should come and visit him. Since she's off work, she decides she's going to go on this adventure and go to Alaska. And it's really funny because she's just like such a city girl and she just does not fit into Alaska at all. And there on her travels, she meets Jonah, who is also a bush pilot. Jonah is Calla's complete opposite. He's brooding, he's grumpy, and he's just thinks that Calla just does not belong there, and Calla is set on proving him wrong. So it's very much an opposite grumpy sunshine kind of romance, but also there's the element with her father, and she really gets to know her father the whole time, and he's sick. So yeah, I think you can probably guess what the emotional part is from that, but I don't want to say any more because you should read it and experience it for yourself. So I really love this book. It just holds such a dear place in my heart. I love the entire trilogy, actually. The entire trilogy, even the third one, who is it's about Marie. It's not about Calla and Jonah, but I still really like that book. I really need to pick up more Kate Tucker books because I love the writing style in this book. But anyways, it is very emotional. That is the point. Anyways, that's the point of this video, is that it's very emotional and very good. I highly recommend. Okay, and last but not least, I want to talk to you about The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. This is the first book in the Friend Zone trilogy, or the Friend Zone series. I bawled like a baby, like not even just at the end, but a large majority of the way through this book. It does talk about some pretty heavy topics, and specifically infertility. This follows Kristen, who is a very quirky girl. She's very quirky and she's very just set in her way, and she doesn't have time for guys who are just not going to get that. But she is holding in this big secret, and it's that she found out that she can't have kids. So when she meets Josh, who is the best man in her best friend's wedding, so he's the best man to the groom, she is the maid of honor. I should have explained that better. Sorry. Anyways, they meet and they pretty immediately like butt heads, but also in a sort of attraction way. As they spend more time together, they start really falling for each other. The only thing is that Kristen knows that Josh really wants a big family. So she knows that they're better off friends and has to keep him at an like arm's length and keep him in, you guessed it, the friend zone. So yeah, it's a very emotional book. It deals with some really heavy topics, and then it even sets up the next book, which is also very emotional and sad. I'm sure that the third book is also very emotional, but I haven't read it yet. But this one is just like, I cried a lot during this book. I'm not gonna lie, I did. I cried a lot. But it is also really cute and really funny. Abby Jimenez, I feel like, really does a really great job at writing on that line of bringing humor into really sad situations. So yeah, I recommend all of Abby Jimenez's books, but specifically this one for the emotional. Okay, and that is all the books that I have for you today for emotional recommendations. I could make this video probably 5 more times because I've cried a lot in a lot of books, and I actually really love a good emotional roller coaster in a book. So if you have any good ones, leave them down in the comments below, because I am always looking for ones that are gonna rip my heart in two and get stomped on. So always looking forward to that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!